laying off 10% of its
Spotify
employees.
has announced it will shed 6% of its
Elon Musk has
workforce.
laid off thousands of
Amazon's
employees at
biggest
Twitter.
layoffs ever
And I
start
take full
tomorrow.
responsibility for
Google
this
slashes
decision.
6% of its workforce in the largest round of layoffs
Microsoft
in the company's
announced
history.
Wednesday it would lay off 10,000 employees.
In this video, I'm going to share some basic lessons these recent tech layoffs teach us. For context, I'm a UX designer contracting at a large tech company that may or may not also be one of the companies that recently let go of thousands of people. So the first and probably most obvious lesson is to never be loyal to a company any more than you want to be. While you want to minimize unnecessary job gaps and job hunting to avoid the stigmas attached to them, remember that at-will employment is not a one-way street as much as employers want you to believe that it is so they can use your loyalty against you. The reason I said don't be any more loyal than you want to be is because you may work for an employer you admire enough to say to yourself, I'm going to ride this out to the bitter end. That's your prerogative, but all I'm saying is no matter how comfortable you feel while you're employed, never be afraid of occasionally browsing a job board for greener grass. That leads us right into the next lesson, which is to keep planting seeds. As I just mentioned, there's never a bad time to look for that next best opportunity. It doesn't even need to be another job. For example, my entire adult life, I've considered returning to school. In fact, I did return to get a master's degree when my career flatlined during a period when no one wanted to hire me. Coincidentally, this period came after I was laid off myself back in 2016. But even with a master's degree, I still haven't ruled out the possibility of getting a doctorate or even a second master's degree. In order to keep planting seeds, you'll want to keep your portfolio and resume up to date, though admittedly, I am a hypocrite who doesn't do either of those, so I just avoid showing people my website that I basically haven't touched since 2021. But at the very least, I keep a running document of everything I've accomplished in my current job, which I believe is the absolute minimum you should do for yourself. The third lesson is that there is no such thing as job stability. I'm pretty sure most people already know this, but this is why the planting seeds lesson exists. We're no longer living in an era where you get a job on the ground level of a corporation and work your way up over the course of 30 years, saving for a retirement that you will 100% experience, because you will definitely not get hit by a bus just 2 days before your retirement becomes official. The next lesson is that one of the keys to life is balance, i.e. moderation. Why did I mention retirement a moment ago? Let me put it this way. Should you live every day like it's your last? No. And the saying that says that you should is stupid. Should you live every day like the only thing that matters is a certain long-term goal? Also no, which is why I mentioned the retirement thing a moment ago. Ideally, your life should be a complementary mix of instant gratification with delayed gratification. So while you're gainfully employed, it is important to both save money for your future and occasionally treat yourself. Saving money for the future will help weather the storm of any unforeseen events such as a layoff. And treating yourself from time to time will remind you of why you want to make money in the first place, which for many of us could be the motivation we need to keep going and stave off burnout. And the last but not least lesson is to form relationships, but don't get too comfortable with them. One of the harsh realities in life is that everything is temporary, including every single relationship you will have with anything and anyone. Actually, that last sentence could have been its own lesson. Anyway, my point here is that you and your colleagues will not be coworkers forever. People get fired, they get laid off, they find greener grass elsewhere, or they retire. All things must come to an end. But it is important that you form relationships because those will outlast the job. Even after you are no longer official teammates, you will be unofficial teammates who rely on each other for references, honest critiques, and maybe even just emotional support. So I've reached the end of the lessons that I wrote down here on my iPad, but I just thought of another, I guess you could say bonus lesson. So I'm going to attempt to exercise the off-the-cuff speaking muscles because I'm now officially off script. So the lesson that just came to my mind is to make yourself as valuable as you possibly can and just continue to work to maintain that value. Because at this point, layoffs are just ingrained into our culture, so when the time comes when your managers, bosses inevitably ask your managers to submit a list of names to potentially go onto a chopping block, you don't want your name to be on that list. You want to be the name who your manager looks at and says to themselves, no matter what kind of budget issues we're going through, we absolutely need to keep that person because that person is just indispensable. I wish I had a better way of concluding this, but I am not the best off-script speaker, so I'm going to leave it at that. Actually, no, I'm going to recap the lessons that I stated. So the first lesson we went over is to never be loyal to a tech company any more than you want to be. The second lesson is to keep planting seeds. The third one is that there is no such thing as job stability. The fourth one was that one of the keys to life is balance, i.e. moderation. I almost said motivation, but I guess motivation kind of is also a key to life too. And the last lesson is to form relationships, but don't get too comfortable with them. I don't have a special or interesting way of concluding the video, so I'll just end it.
Weren't expecting this, were you? It sounds like some of them people you fired are in the audience.